I have a show on Channel 27, and in 2 weeks, the unoccupied movement is going to be on the show, talking about what their Indian people and their allies are going to be on the show, talking about unoccupying Albuquerque.
Decolonize, right.
That's it, thank you.
When?
He's got all the good words. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, for me, it really gave me the inspiration to change myself by administering real sovereignty. When I went in there, I was at the age of 13. I went in there with my grandmother, Cecilia Martin, Agnes Lamont, Lou Bean, Gladys Bisnet, Alan Movescamp, all the old grandmothers and grandfathers that were there. You know, Grandpa Frank Fusco, Ed Charging Thunder, Pete Catches, Dawson Has No Horse, Mark Big Road, Billy Good Boy Scout. These are people that were born in the early 1900s, late 18, and died, you know, in the 80s. And for my part, being in the movement, I went in there alcohol and drug free. Okay? And today I still use that, promoting my own understanding through sovereignty. And so at the age of 52, sovereignty is what made me create my own independent and free Lakota driver's license. International community. Okay? And this is what I do. Going around promoting it, because the only way you're going to do sovereignty is be in sovereignty and be successful with it by acting it. Well, if you live it like I do, hey, you have nothing to lose. So being compatible in the white man's government, well, it's the simplest way to do that. And that's why we went there. And for my generation, the youth back then, hey, we're here still doing it. And for me, I'm still serving my elders and our women and our children. The havocs of what you just saw there is still going on in Pine Ridge. Last year, on March 2011, I helped our elders take over their own elder complex, and we held it for 37 days. That was a powerful stand, okay? We took any type of negative publicity you can think of, just like what we did in Wounded Knee, and I'm still in it. And I'm not ever going to put it down, you know? Because these children here that are in here, part of this gathering today, people like Leonard made these type of sacrifices, you know? And a lot of them, man, are gone. Bo's gone, numerous other ones are all gone. If alcohol or drugs didn't get them, hey, you know, sickness got them. And I got to continue to keep this thing alive. Without it, then there's no tomorrow for me and my grandkids when that time comes. And I don't want to be neglected like what my elders experienced back in March of 2011. And with that, you know, when I look at these guys that were part of it, especially Lenny, me and Lenny, we go back into the Indigenous Training Council. The first time I met Lenny was down in Strata, Oklahoma. And here's two guys still hanging on to their language. I spoke my language, Lakota, he spoke his Dene tongue. And me and him at that time, we took on a challenge for the people. And every time I go somewhere, please, you know, and it's no offense to the crowd that gathers in support of solidarity, whatever the movement can do. We sacrificed with everything that we had. And when this grandma says that, hey, food was the source, hey, man, there was times that we took off bubble gum and tree sap from the wood trees and used that. Just to chew something, just to stay afloat and healthy. Whatever we could do. And so when I look at Lenny and I, when we were in Strata, Oklahoma, and he can verify this, I stressed this issue. When a drum is not present, man, that means that you're not inside. Your heart is no longer beating just like that drum. So any place where I go, I try to implement that. Today was a sad experience for me to see at the protest gathering for, you know, the war. Where was our people? And the only thing that I could see of Leonard was a piece of paper. That offended me. So now I'm telling you that. Don't do this no more. If these struggles are still that you want to accomplish in the future, to live, continue freely, then act on it. Start doing it like we do. It's hard, but in the end, you will win. And we did win in 1973. And that's how you bring change. And my driver's license It's a prime example. Sovereignty is alive and well. And in 1973, that's what we declared. So with that, remember, any type of gathering that you do, whether it's for Leonard or the American Indian Movement, hey, honor them with their songs. And give that conviction back to the women and children that went in there alcohol and drug free. Hokahe!
Would you like to contribute too, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Bernie Peoples. I'm a Lakota. And I went back to South Dakota. I left there after I got out of the Army. I left there in 1965. I went on relocation, and I went back there after, in 1971, I went back to Pine Ridge, actually. And I gave up a music career because I knew that nothing was being done back there to change things. So I decided I was going back and I was going to on my own change it. I get back there and look around and it's just desolation, you know. There's nothing you can do. Once you get there and you start looking around, you know what's there. And so I really didn't have an idea of what to do. And so I left there. I went to Rapid City, a city a few miles away, and I stayed there for a little while. And then I went to Denver and met up with Vernon and a bunch of people over there, American Indian Movement. And then I went back to South Dakota again, and there still wasn't anything going on. Just living in the city there. And while I was there, I did discover one thing that probably a lot of you don't know. There's a document, and its title is Dialogue and Description of Events Surrounding the Signing of the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty. And that was the treaty that started all this Wounded Knee stuff. And it still goes on today. This document describes how they signed this treaty. And what they did at this treaty was the U.S. government brought in a wagon full of barrels and cases of whiskey. And they got all the Lakota signers drunk. They got them all drunk. Some of them passed out. Some of them were, couldn't stand up, didn't know what was going on. And they drug them up to the table physically, stuck pens in their hands, and signed this treaty for them. And so this treaty that you all probably sometimes hear about is not a valid treaty. It doesn't even exist. And they talk about violations of the treaty. Well, yeah, they're all violations. I mean, they violated every aspect of it. But the fact is, this treaty is invalid. That territory, or that treaty boundary, all belongs to the Lakota. That's our territory. We should be in control of it, the jurisdiction, the resources, everything. And until that reverts back to the control of the Lakota, the United States government, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you about that. Now that document exists somewhere. I had it in my possession. I took it. I gave it to Chief Foolscrow, the one you saw in the video. And mysteriously his house burned down. Okay, well, I don't know what happened there. And the book went with it. And I've tried to locate this document through the Freedom of Information Act, through the Library of Congress, archives and everything, and they will not even reply to me. So I don't know where this document is, but it's a valid piece of actual physical evidence this was a reporter commissioned by the U.S. government to report on what took place at this treaty signing. When I read that document, I couldn't understand why they would even let this document be a public record. And in 1971, it was on display in the library, University Library, in a locked glass case. The day I went in there to look at it, it was unlocked. There. Anyway, I got this book and I took it, and I took it to the treaty people. And so since that day forward, it's never been on display again. I don't know if anybody has ever seen this thing except me. And so, you know, this thing is still ongoing with this case for the Lakota Treaty, and you know, at some point this has got to come out where this document's got to be found and contested, and so I don't know how or when or why, but it's an ongoing thing right now. And right now, Chanun Pagluhamani is going to be one of the main leaders of this movement to do this, you know, to carry this treaty forward and this treaty issue. And so it's not, you know, not near dead at all, this whole issue. And, you know, I'm doing what I can to contribute to it and do whatever I can to, you know, move it forward. But I'm not back in South Dakota right now. I'm stuck right here, kind of an exile, refugee, you might say. I would like to be back there, and you know, if anybody threatens the Lakota, I'm going to be there. And so, you know, that was, you know, an incident leading up to Wounded Knee that I just wanted to bring out, you know, to your attention. That hasn't been brought out before, needs to be brought out. And after that happened, you know, we went into Wounded Knee, and I was hoping that Russ and Dennis and everybody was going to carry this forward and, you know, regain independence for the Lakota. It didn't work out that way. But we aren't done yet, I don't think. So, you know, I probably got more to say than you've got time to listen to. But I just want to leave you with that and give that to you, chew on. And you know, it was an honor for me to be in Wounded Knee, to be with the American Indian Movement. And you never forget those things. I'll just leave you with that.
Thank you.